little bit of a hiccup. Yep, tonight we are setting sails for Clipper. You know, Clipper's a boat, so setting sails for the destination of the boat when it's the boat doesn't quite make sense, but that's what we're doing. Well, I just make sure I got everything I need tonight. Because remember last week when I said I was going to do a dry run and go through this all beforehand to make sure everything was set up properly? Nope, we're doing it live. So, and also it's a good thing that we're doing it live because it'll emulate the average person's first time experience trying to set up Clipper and MAINSAIL. So, if you're unaware, this is the Vzero. It's got an SKR Mini E3 V2 controller. We have a Raspberry Pi Zero, right? Yeah. As our Raspberry Pi. And right now it does whatever I push it to do because it has zero firmware on it, and if I give it power, nothing happens. So hopefully we'll be rectifying that tonight. So how is everyone doing tonight? I don't think we'll be needing this camera much tonight, if at all. Okay, so first off, for those that don't know, Clipper is the operating system, the firmware that we run on Vorons. You can run RepRap firmware. Technically, all the Vorons are supported by it. This guy is still running RepRap firmware. But tall boy back here and my switch wire, and this guy will be running Clipper. Now, I think you can run Marlin on pretty much all the Vorons if you really wanted to, but I don't think anyone even does or bothers to. So we're going to be running Clipper. Now, Clipper in and of itself runs by itself. However, you need some sort of interface. So what everyone's been using for the longest time is octoprint. Octoprint's big, it's heavy, it's bloated. If you're not using all the plugins, it's kind of basically a whole lot of software for, you don't really need it. It's a lot of bloat. So what we now have is MAINSAIL. So what MAINSAIL is a lightweight web interface for Clipper. So it does kind of look like the Duet web interface. Do I have this guy online? I don't know if that printer is. I can pull it up down here. So it does kind of look like the Duet interface. However, it's completely, it shares no code. It just happens to look the same, kind of like how a Corolla kind of looks like a Toyota. They're completely different cars, but they're still cars. So there's only so many ways you can make a web interface, and you know, if it works, it works. You're going to keep some of the layout, but it's its own thing completely. So what MAINSAIL is basically a stripped down what you need just to get your printer running. And the advantage of having it all nice and lightweight is you can run it on less demanding hardware, or less powerful hardware, such as a Raspberry Pi Zero. So for those that don't know, like this is Duet web control right here. If it decides to load. But this is my, this is what V226 runs, and it's still running. And for those who have never seen how RepRap firmware works on a V2, an old V2, it's all macros and macros and macros and macros and macros. It's all, yeah. It's a pain in the ass, but it works. And I haven't touched this interface in a while. So this firmware is old. From like, yeah, 2018. So I haven't touched the firmware on V226 since it was a V2.1, I believe. But it works, so I don't mess with it. But, latest and greatest, we're doing this. Now, for the longest time, well, not the longest time, because it hasn't been that long, to install MAINSAIL, you kind of have to do it manually. You have to build it. Now, you can do this with Octoprint, but Octoprint has that one, octopi, that one install that everyone uses. So if you want to go through and do the long way for MAINSAIL, this is it. And this allows you to install it, you know, piece by piece, kind of like, you know, for those Linux guys who like compiling their own kernels. This is that. We are not doing that. So just to give you a perspective, this is the instructions to install it as it is right now. Okay. And this is with MAINSAIL OS. You flash the image on your SD card. You configure your Wi-Fi. You add your printer config. You had a few little gubbins there. And you're pretty much done. Like, there's the whole instructions for MAINSAIL OS as it is now. Now, it's still not fully done, I believe. But I don't know, Raymond will be the final pushing it when he's ready to push it. I'm just kind of showing it off tonight. You know, you kind of can see the link here and you'll be able to download it if you really want to. So before we get further, I'm going to start downloading this. So 1 gig. And this is why I hate COVID, because I don't have fiber yet, because they can't come in my house to put the fiber in my house yet. Live enough. Okay, let me check up on chat here. You know what? I have nothing against RepRap firmware. It works, but after running KLIPPER I just find is better for our use case. In terms of, like, input shaper is just magic. Like, people are pushing 7K accels, like 5,000 acceleration on a switch wire, and it's running fine. So does boot. A Pi Zero powered from the SKR, no issues. That's unmute. Pi Zero powered from the SKR. That is pretty much still kind of testing. We know it works. Some people are running it. We just don't want to fully mass recommend it yet, because we don't know. We don't have enough hours on it. We in the Voron group, we like to get hours on something before we push it. We won't just design something or spec something and just shove it out there without actually having hours on it. So we're still kind of testing it. It does work. It's just we might find, you know, if you're trying to push a certain amount of speed and feeds out of it, after a few thousand hours, we start having issues. We don't know yet. But right now, it works. We know it works. It's just, how hard can you push it? Okay, Raymond, yeah. So it's officially launched. So here, I'll link it. Yeah, Marlin, that's the wiki for how to install it. Marlin's kind of, you know, I'm not saying it's bad. Don't get me wrong. Marlin works. But the extra features and the ability to add stuff much quicker to KLIPPER definitely helps a lot. Plus, you're offloading all it to the Raspberry Pi. So when you're offloading everything to the Raspberry Pi, it makes your board choice very agnostic. People were running, and we spec dual ramps for V2 for the longest time, because you really don't see much of a performance difference because all the processing is offloaded. Like I did a video where I went over an SKR Mini V2, and it was doing like an SKR Mini V2 with KLIPPER is spec'd with 3 motors running at, I think it's 360,000 steps per second. That's what it can pull off. Now, there are, I think it's the GTR. I think it's the GTR Turbo. One of the, it's using another STF chip, but that can do 711,000 steps per second. Whereas an 8-bit ramps, I think, is around 100,000 steps per second. Now, that may seem like a massive increase, but the thing is, even with dual ramps, we still weren't really maxing it out with a V2. So what do you need to run to more than double max out an SKR? So that's kind of why we like KLIPPER. You can use any board you have already, pretty much, for the most part. Right now, we're just waiting on stuff to download. Yeah. So for a clipper, I'll give the shout outs here because I am not a software guy. I pretty much had zero input on any of this. But you know, Clipper is Kevin. So if you're using Clipper, he has a Patreon. I recommend you subscribe to it or throw him a few bucks because it's worth it. ArcSign did Moonraker, which is the Clipper API, which allows it to kind of talk to other things. For example, I'm pretty sure you can use the panel do now with Clipper. It's natively supported through Moonraker. Litbox did the MAINSAIL logo, Vue.js and whatnot. And then Raymond did the pretty much, I think he did the wrapper. So the actual MAINSAIL OS. Okay, so it's downloaded. So with it being downloaded, you're going to need a Balana etcher. I'm going to need to pull my SD card out and not drop it. And we're going to have to flash it. So there is a problem with this drive. One of these days I got to get a newer thing. Flash file, download, select target. That would be that one. Flash. Oh. Michael, just finished wiring my V2 tonight. The Z probe is not working. Light is on when metal is close to it. The light goes off when homing. That does not stop it from going into the build plate. What you should be checking. Oop, what do you mean? It's plugged in, decompressing. 1 second here. What you want to do is you want to do the command for double checking to make sure that it's activated. I can't remember what it is, but there's like basically you just have to query the end stop to make sure the end stop is actually triggering before and after. Because if you have it wired up wrong, what'll happen is, and this actually happened to me with Tallboy, the wires wired up incorrectly. So while it was the LED was working, it wasn't actually reading. It was reading as constantly triggered or not triggered. I can't remember which one. So make sure it is wired correctly. For one, look at the wiring diagram for the colors. I think black is signal. It's not a ground. So make sure it is wired up correctly. And then also make sure it's queried that you are getting the proper triggered and not triggered when it's in the different stages. So yeah, query probe. So, decompressing. I think I might have a bad SD card here too, so we'll see. Flashing. Oh, no, it's flashing. So, it's working. This is one of those things I probably should have did before the stream, but Microsoft Flight Simulator is quite fun, I will say. So, while that's going on, I'll go over some, I did do some small changes. You may notice, it's not really a huge deal, but I did swap out my tooth idlers for just a bearing stack. Okay? Reason for that is twofold. One, I'm running smooth idlers on both my V2s and switch wire, and I'm not noticing any issues with waviness from teeth marks. That is oh so common in 3D printers until we kind of realize it's actually not caused by smooth idlers. So I swapped them to the beefier idlers because they last longer than the bearings in the tooth idlers because they're really small. They're pin idlers, or they're pin bearings. And then two, my bushings or my washers didn't come in. I had to order the really small washers that you need for those tooth idlers. They never came in, and when I was moving the head around, you could hear them rubbing on the printed plastic because there was no space, so they were just rubbing, especially the lower one here. So I said screw it, and I swapped it to the smooth idlers. Now, technically that does cause, and I believe according to the math, a 0.3 millimeter offset in the belts, which 0.3 millimeters over 120 millimeters is, let me bring up my sine law calculator. So if we have a distance of A, let's see here, because I'm not pulling up an actual calculator. So if we have 0.3, right? No, what am I doing? That's not what I want. Long story short, it's like barely anything. Yeah, it's basically nothing. It's basically, we're talking like a deviance of like less than like 1 or 2, 0.1 or 0.2 millimeters over 120 millimeters, which, considering this guy won't be my like super accurate part machine, like that's my V2s, I am not concerned at all about accuracy. We'll see. But yeah, I'm not concerned. Yeah, 0.1 millimeters. That's 4 of those is your nozzle diameter, so I'm not worried. Okay. So much fun. Look at it. 56%. The joys of USB 2.0. In case, the fancy new computer that I had, which is still an 8-year-old computer, that I was using for the past 2 streams, that my brother graciously donated. It's dead. So we're back on the X56, or the X5450 Xeon processor from 2008. But it's working. So, luckily I did play with the settings so I can keep the stream quality up. So. Okay, so if the probe is triggering, you might need to, I think, invert the pins. You need to make sure that it's using the right pin on the right board for the assignment for triggering the end stop, and you need to make sure you might have to invert it. So just reference the config file that you have, make sure it's plugged into the right board and everything, and make sure that it is, you may have to invert it if it's not triggering. Although it should say already triggered if it's inverted, I believe. Angry Straw is supposed to light on when triggered. It depends. It could be an NC or an NO. There's 2 different styles of probes. Some probes, the light's always on, and it triggers, it turns off. And some, it's always off and triggers when it turns on, or vice versa. It depends how it's wired up. It's either normally closed or normally open circuit. Mine... See, this one, for example, I have the light on, and when metal gets close, it turns off. The one in Tall Boy is the opposite. The light is always off and turns on when it gets close to metal. So the light basically the light changing state is the trigger, but the light being on or the light being off doesn't denote what state it's currently in, because it depends on if it's wired up, depends on how the trigger, or the switch itself is wired up, because you can get both NC or NO. Personally, I like the one with the light always on, because then you have a red light always on, because RGB. Yeah, see, mine, the only one I've had to wire, the only SKR one I've wired up so far is just a 1.3 in switch wire. Validating. So one thing that may stall a stream out, other than the fact that I didn't do this before stream, is I've never hooked up an SKR to the Pi Zero. I think I know how to get it working, and I might have to pester some people on the Discord who have done it before, because it's not a super common setup, but it should be relatively pain-free, I hope. So we'll see. Hopefully it works. Just waiting for it to finish validating, and then we'll come on, validate quicker. This is annoying. Yeah, pull up resistor. So you need to wire it up. I don't know if the manual only goes over the SKR 1.3, I believe. I don't think it covers the 1.4, although it's pretty close. If you ask in the V2 section of the Discord, I'm sure somebody will have the guide on how to do that there, or walk you through it. I haven't had to do it, so I'm not too sure. I've never touched the 1.4. Yeah, let's take a look here. V2. Okay, so that's SKR 1.3. Inductive probe. So yeah, make sure you have that the diode and whatnot. You're connected to the end stop. So I think it only shows the 1.3. Unless I skip the 1.4. Yeah, it only shows the 1.3. It might be on the GitHub though for the 1.4. Unless they added it at the end. No. Yes, 3D Mamish, you can keep your config. So it's still Klipper. So your configuration file for Klipper is still your configuration file for Klipper. All we're doing is we're basically, Klipper itself is unchanged. It's just, instead of having to go through octoprint to get to Klipper, now you're going through MAINSAIL OS to get to Klipper. Okay? So the Klipper portion is unchanged. So you don't have to, you can literally, before you do this, you can put this on any printer you have already that's running Klipper. Before you do it, take your SD card, save your config file to your computer, and then switch it to Klipper, or to MAINSAIL, and throw your config back in, boot it back up, and you should be able to literally just hit print, because your printer should function exactly the same as it did before, only with a new interface to get at everything. Yay! Okay. So we're good there. So what I'm going to actually do right now is I'm not going to power it. I'm just going to power it with a brick for now. Because I need to go through and make sure it's actually set up right and generate the file anyways to flash the MCU on this guy. So, USB cables. That's not long enough. I don't have one somewhere. Oh yeah, the WAP. I forgot about that. Thank you for mentioning that. Don't forget, you have to put your Wi-Fi password in. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get to it. Okay, so all I did was just plug it right in. And then according to this, download, flash, optional, configure, MAINSAIL OS WA supplicant. Okay, so what you do is you go down here and you hopefully are using WPA encryption and you add your SSD and your password. Where's password? Oh, there it is. I'm looking at the wrong one. So what you do is you put your, you put your, whatever your Wi-Fi router is called, your Wi-Fi, and then you put your password here is, and then what you also do is, I always forget to do this, is you have to delete all the little pound symbols, the hashtags, okay? Or actually, I think you can leave these ones. Yeah. So you have to delete those, otherwise it doesn't read it, because when it has that symbol, it basically skips over it. So I always forget to delete those. So when I go to plug it in, I'm like, oh, it's not working, because it's not reading it. So I'm going to actually put my credentials in, so you guys can't see, in case you decide to come to Canada and drive by my house and steal my Wi-Fi. There we go. So network, that, file save. Okay. Now we can unplug it. Now I got to give it some power, which if I remember correctly, it's that one. Okay, the light's flashing. So now, at this point, I don't know if I can show this one. What you would do is you would connect to your router. Most routers have some sort of software for like software management, and that will tell you what's currently connected to it, because you need to know what's currently connected to it so you can get your IP address for your Raspberry Pi. So, wait for it to show up. Raymond, what does it show up as by default? Because I know octoprint shows up as octoprint. MAINSAIL OS local. Okay, come on. Why aren't you showing up? It's not Windows. I'm actually running Windows 10 on this thing. It's an old computer. Okay. Why do I have Octopi? Why? It's showing I have an Octopi hooked up. But I don't. Let me see here. Why is it not connecting? Let's see here. Try something else. Let me see if that causes it to disappear. Yeah, I just unplugged it because I want to see if it goes away. Well, that's the thing right now, Boot. I'm trying to make sure that it's actually it's showing up on my network. Let's see here. Okay, so should be working. Let me double check the SD card. Yeah, I tried pinging it and it wasn't getting a response. Try this again. No, I deleted the hashtags. Trying to ping it and getting nothing. Side note, I'm not a huge fan of my Asus router. It is not a fan. You know what? The last time I had to do this, I actually had to reboot my router. So I think I'm gonna, like, it was super finicky. So I'm gonna try rebooting my router to see if this helps. So you're gonna lose the stream for a second, but I'm literally just gonna go unplug it and plug it back in. Yeah, it's an old router, and it starts to get funky where stuff like just doesn't want to connect until I reboot it. And it's been a while since I rebooted it, and I have like 20 devices in the house that try to talk to it. So hopefully the stream doesn't crash. I'll be back in a minute. I think we're back. Okay, yay, we're back. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so just so I'm not insane, this is correct, right? And yes, I need a new router. The thing is, my router is, I normally don't have issues. It just sits there and feeds a bunch of computers. So, but yeah, that should be right. So I don't see why it's not connecting. Yeah, because you leave the quotations. Oh, PSK. What do you mean pre-shared key? Then it should just be my password, right? So how do I make it not the pre-share key and just, it should just be a password, right? Oh, country code. Where's country code? Where's country code? Wait, 1 second. Uncomment the country your Pi isn't activated. I don't think that matters. Oh, I see. Yeah, Great Britain. I don't think that'll do anything, but... Okay, so country code is fixed. I honestly, I've never played with country code. I never even knew that was an issue, but this is actually the first time I'm running MAINSAIL OS, so we shall see. Oh, frequencies, I could see that being an issue. Okay. See if we get power now. Okay, light is on. Come on, something show up. it's pinging something. Oh. 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 Okay. So, as you can see, there's MAINSAIL. There's your console. There's your settings. Oh, there's my config. Because you can put your config, you can modify your config file directly in here, I believe now. There we go. So that was it. So if you are going off, make sure you have the country code or whatever correct for the Wi-Fi's to work. Otherwise, the Wi-Fi's don't work. And if the Wi-Fi's don't work, then your printer don't work. Okay. So at this point, we need to make a file. So Klipper install guide. Because I actually don't install Klipper every day. I always forget the proper process for installing Klipper. So if you go to the Klipper GitHub, it's this part right here where we gotta basically SSH into it. So putty. And we are going to need to do a new one. So for putty, putty is what I use to SSH into stuff. What I do is make sure you don't have the HTTP, you just need the IP address, and then save it as something. So in this case, we'll call it Vzero because it's Vzero, save. There we go. So when you click on it, yes. Yeah. So what would be the default password? Yeah, so there's one for you, Raymond. There's no default password. It doesn't say what it is. So what would be the default password so I can get into this thing? Oh, Pi Raspberry still? Okay, so it's Pi Raspberry. And we're in. Okay, so for those that don't know, with SKRs, you have to kind of make a firmware file to flash it. Okay. So just involves a whole lot of copy paste. So make menu config. Yeah, Pi and Raspberry is the default, but I didn't know if that was an octoprint thing or like a more general thing. Because I know this is running, I don't know what version of Linux it's running, but it is running Linux still. Okay, so I need to take a look here. Yeah, so on SKR, so because I'm using the TX header, I gotta go through this. So I gotta, let's see here, microcontroller. So we have an STM32. And I think it's the F103. Yeah, STM32F103. So you want to make sure you have the right processor. If you don't, bad things will, well, it just won't work. I don't think you can brick these. Like, I don't think you can brick these. Now, for this, how do I turn this off? Enable low-level configuration options. What am I doing here? Okay, so it's Y. Okay. So no. Use can. And I think it's uart 0 I have to set it as. Oh, uart 1. Okay, so it's uart 1. I think. Yeah, so yes. Yeah, so uart 1. Oh, wait, no. So serial port. I think 2500 baud. I think that's correct. Let me check here. Okay, so I might have to play around here because it might be the second one. So that would be PA. Let's check here. 1.E3 mini 2.0 pin out. Where is the B 2.0? Okay, so because we are using the, what is this? Oh, it's whatever. So I need RX and TX, which doesn't call out. Oh, it just says RX and TX, so I'm not using those. So I think that's right. I think it's uart 1, because uart 0 is USB. So we use uart 1, because PA2 and PA3 are, I don't know where. Because we're using the TFT here. PA1's there. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that is correct. Oh, yeah. Yeah, select. Okay. Yeah, and then PA14. I don't think I need to write on GPIO. I just need at PA14. Because you need to invert that pin, I think. Or pull it up, or whatever it is. It should be PA2 and 3? Okay, so let me swap that. Yeah, serial port 2. Okay, so it did jump to that. Okay. I think, okay, so I think we're okay. So select. Okay. Exit. Yes. Okay. So that is there. And then you type make. And that makes it. So yeah. So basically what we are trying to do is set up the firmware for the board to talk through the TX and RX on the TFT header, so we can talk to the TX and RX header on the Raspberry Pi Zero, so we completely skip the need for USB. So we still have an open USB port if we need, or simply for the fact that then you only need a 4-pin harness. It just makes it cleaner. Okay, so where are we next? So boot Pi, wire your MCU, SSH, flash the board, and then we need to make a okay, so we're good there. Now, if I remember correctly, I have to get that file out of there, which, what do I use for that? I remember I had a Microsoft program for that. I think it was WinSCP. Yes, John, so what you're seeing right now with having to do a makefile, this is all part of normal Klipper install. There's actually, Klipper install is actually usually a little bit more because you have to install octoprint and then you have to run a bunch of SSH terminal commands to basically update pull all the files for Klipper, install that into octoprint, and then you have to go through what we're going through right now. Yep, WinSCP. So for SKR boards, you can't flash. I got an upgrade. Oh, no, cancel, close. You can't. Oh my God, I got 20 different things in this thing open. You can't flash the board directly. Some boards can't, like a ramps, for example. You simply can just flash it through the SSH terminal. But with the SKR boards, they require a firmware loaded onto the little SD card they come with. You put that in, you turn the board on by itself, and then it flashes the firmware, and then it can talk to Klipper at that point. Okay, so now I need to go to, I think it's in, is it the make file? I think it's the make file, or no, is it the make file? Yeah, I think it's the make file, and then you got to rename it, right? Or no, that's not the make file. Yeah, John, so the thing with rep firmware is pretty much like a package done one and done. Firmware.bin. Okay, so I copied the wrong one. So Klipper is kind of a little bit, a little bit more technical to get it running, but once it's running, it's simple. Where is the config? Yeah, where is the Klipper.bin at? I can never remember. Klipper out. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. So home, Pi, Klipper out, Klipper bin. Copy, and then I'm going to plug my SD card in. Oh, hey, there's a bunch of stuff I don't need anymore. Delete. Paste. Maybe it won't let you paste into a thing. Yeah, okay. And then drag and drop. And then rename to firmware.bin. Okay. And then that is that. And then at this point, I think we just plug it in. Yeah, John, for Klipper, like, there's written instructions for all this, so it's literally for all like the SSH stuff. It's copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, and you're just kind of letting it do its thing. Okay, so now plug my SD card back in, and now I got to power this guy up with some power. You can't flash the SKO directly, but you have to install a bootloader. Oh, well, I don't have the bootloader installed. Or, I don't know, it's literally fresh out of the box. Like, it's never done anything. Oh, I forgot to switch. Okay, so it's got power. Now, I can't remember, does it do any... Do I have to push a button to flash it? I'm pretty sure I gotta push a button, don't I? There's like a reset button. Or is it done? No, reset. Yeah, just reboot. Okay. So, oh, no button? Okay, well, I pushed the button. I don't think it does anything because it's just a reset button. So, now I gotta turn that off. Unplug the Pi. And now plug this back in so that it is getting power off of the SKR. So now everything's all internal power. So hopefully no bazap. We've only done the bazap once. Don't want to do bazap twice. Okay, that's got power. That's got power. Okay, everything's got power. So now we wait. So I will say the boot up time is relatively quick compared to what it was previously with octoprint. Okay, we're in. Okay, so let's see. Okay, now it is dev serial by ID. Yeah. Yeah, so now I'm getting nothing. But we're not connected to a USB port, but with that, because we're not serial anymore, we're connected via, whatever. It should have Klipper. I pushed the... Didn't flash right. Joy. Try this again. Was I not supposed to push the button? Use the hardware serial port on the Pi. I do. It is hooked up to the like the TX and the RX on the Pi. No, wrong one. Okay, let's boot it back up. We also need to enable the serial port on the Pi. Is that in the instructions? Okay, let's see here. Okay, let's see here. Well, let me get the config in here at least, so I have a config file. Okay, I think I have a config save there. Cancel. Is it ACA or? Okay, let me catch up on chat here. Okay. Josh, did you assign TX to RX? And I just connected TX to TX, RX to RX. I need to enable the serial port on the Pi. Do LS. Okay, let's see here. Do I need to cross them? Yeah, this all the stuff we're doing right now. If you're installing like this on a normal printer where you just have a USB connection, you can pretty much skip all the stuff we're doing right now. So this is kind of a specific instance stuff because we're trying to avoid USB. Oh, TX and RX need to be crossed. Okay, give me a second here. Because right now I have TX to TX and RX to RX. Okay, kill power. Unplug that. Talk to talk, listen to listen. It's not trying hard enough. That's why. Okay, so that should be good there. No sparky spark. Yeah, the joys of doing it live. But it's fun, gives us something to do, because if everything just worked right off the bat, these would be 20-minute streams. So now we're just waiting for it to reboot. Okay, so we are rebooted. Okay, let's see, what was that? DTYA? So dev, okay, so. Error. Config. It's a Moonraker config. Okay, so dev TTAM A0. Refresh. Okay, so it's still, what's this? Add, create file, config. Is this where I add config? I don't want to do this if I'm doing this wrong. Or no, I have to do it through the thing, right? Oh, so it'd be printer config there. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, because normally you do that. And then you would do that. And then I don't know where to save, right? Enter. Control X, whatever. Save, yes. Enter. Okay. So, refresh. That doesn't seem right. Unless I have to make it in here now. Yeah, it should be there. I don't know why it's not. Notepad++. Go back to Putty and move it. I'm pretty sure I did move it, right? Okay, so what is it? You can copy and paste. So yeah, so copy. Yeah, I did that. And then you paste it, right? Oh, okay. Oh, it's in a different place in MAINSAIL. Ooh. How the hell do I do that? So obviously we still don't have this completely idiot-proof. So I'm just going to go into Notepad. And profile settings. 281. Okay, so what do I need? I need to paste it into... Okay, Control X. So copy, and then paste. Right? Move to Clipper config. Okay. Refresh. Haha! There we go. So we have a Clipper config. Now, with MAINSAIL, another advantage of MAINSAIL is unlike running Clipper through octoprint, you no longer need to go into, you know, whatever sort of file editor. You can edit your config files directly in MAINSAIL OS. Okay, so you can literally, if you want to make an update to your printer, right? You want to change the steps per millimeter. You're on your dashboard, you're watching it print. You go to Settings, Machine, open your file, change whatever, blah 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 blah. Save, firmware restart, done. Okay. So right now this is like a default printer config. So I don't have a default printer config. I have a Vzero. So printers or community GitHub Vzero. Firmware. Printer config. Control A, copy. MAINSAIL OS, Control A, delete. There we go. Don't need all that. Don't need the GitHub stuff. Okay. And I don't need the GitHub stuff under here. Okay. So now there is some other stuff here. Now this stuff right here we need to add specifically. So we have to add this, I believe. At the very bottom, I'll just add it. So virtual SD card, and then I think that's it. Oh, I'll have to modify some pins. Yeah, so I'll have to go through and update some pins. Because right now this is for a V1.2, I believe, where I'm using the V2. But let me save that. And then do a firmware restart. Oh, I think I hit the wrong one. I want to make sure I'm getting at least something out of this printer, because right now I don't think it's actually talking to the printer. Oh, I forgot to change serial port. That'll do it. I don't think we're connected right now. I forgot to update the serial port. So right now it ain't trying to talk to anything. So what is it? The serial port, it's dev tty ama0. So serial just be that, right? Save. Firmware restart. Okay, we have nothing. Chris, $5. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the stream tonight. As always, anyone who donates to the stream, it goes into either more hardware for building printers or more equipment for the stream itself. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. I may need to check Clipper logs console. I don't know. Can I check the logs in here? Considering how often we ask for the logs, you think that would be something we should be able to Moonrake log. Oh, there's a Clipper log. Okay, Clipper log. Ah, we do have it in here. Oh man, this makes it so much easier. Okay, so yeah, so if you need to pull your Clipper logs, find out why it's not working, it's right there. Push the button, you get the logs. And speaking of logs, let's see what's going on here. Starting Clipper. Unable to open file. So why can't we open the config file? Settings. Let me do a full firmware restart. Yeah. Yeah, firmware restart. Unknown temperature sensor. Aha! What do you mean unknown temperature sensor? Okay, so Clipper config examples. So I use beta 3950s, I believe, for all my sensors. Yep, uncomment the other one. Ooh, Josh 499. Oh, glad you're enjoying the stream, man. Thanks. Mr. Yeah, because I run the NTC 100K beta 3950. So I've had good luck having these for all my so where is the bed? The other one for Kinovo. Yeah, see I only have the one there. Save. Unknown temperature sensor, but that is a correct one. Sensor type. Yeah, it is uncommented. Oh, beta. The word beta is missing. That'll do it. Save. Restart. Uncomment 115, comment 114. John, $20. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. I do these streams to help people, so as long as they're helping, I'll keep doing them. 114 to 115. restart. Okay, this isn't updating. Why isn't that updating? Okay, so that's why. So it's an issue where that isn't. So this is why this is still a beta. Because right now, I'm sure if I went back here, went there, and did that, and save that, went to dashboard. See this right here, this text box isn't updating on hitting restart. It's updating on refresh. So that's something there for Klipper, is that's not updating there. So position end stop in Zephyr. Config. Position end stop. So our position end stop is 0 at the moment. And I'm actually going to have to move that guy. Okay. So position end stop. So right now our end stop is 0. And it's assuming we have a TR. Now here's the thing. No, we haven't gotten to pin errors yet. Restart. Okay. Because like right now, as you can see, it's showing no temperatures. So obviously something's not talking. So I'm thinking right now, according to our, I don't think it's talking. I don't think we're talking to the printer, because we're getting no temperatures, and we should be getting at least some temperatures, because let's see here. Config. So extruder is heater pin is PC8, sensor pin is PA0, and that would be PA0, which we do have it hooked up. So it is not talking right now. That is our problem. So that is our problem. We are not talking to this guy. So why aren't we talking? No, Mamish. I went and checked. So see right here, we're getting no heaters. So it isn't talking, I don't think, to our heater. Unless I don't have it called out correctly, but it should be correct. Extruder for heater pin PC8. And I have it on PC8, I believe. Yep, PC8. Alexi, so they were originally not crossed. They were TX to TX and RX to RX. I did cross them. So let me see here. Sure, Raymond. Let me do a full reset. And then I'll send it to you so I have a clean log to send you. Oh, SPI bus on Pi not enabled. Okay, how do I enable that? And again, a lot of these issues I'm having right now are only because we're trying to do something a little bit different by using uart essentially to communicate. Sudo raspi config. Ah, dang it, that closed it. Okay, so let's see. So network options, boot options, network options. Oh, Klipper log. Okay, let's see Klipper log. Why is it still trying to connect? According to the log, it's still trying to connect via this USB, which isn't what my host name. Okay, so host name is MAINSAIL OS. I'm fine with MAINSAIL OS. Yeah, we'll call it Vzero. Okay. Oh, at the bottom. Config error, traceback call. Okay, wait, I'm looking at like 20 people's different, okay, interfaces. So, okay, so SPI bus. So where's SPI bus? There's SPI bus. Would you like to? Yes, enable SPI bus. Okay. So I think that's it, right? Would you like to reboot? Yes. Oh no, I lost the connection. Okay, now it's rebooting. Woo, loading screen. Oh, there we go. Okay, dashboard. So it's not giving me any errors right now. Let's check the log. Okay, so this is fresh. This is a fresh log now. Okay. So there's nothing at the top. All the way to the bottom. That seems okay. Why aren't you giving me temperatures? Yeah, we should be connecting. Yeah, because according to the logs, MCU serial. Oh shit. Yeah, it's saying serial. Oh, you posted me a link on Discord. Let me check. Yeah, just so you guys know, if you try to like message me on Discord, I don't get a notification. It. Oh, somebody sent me a link. Okay, swapping ports. Okay, the first thing is enable serial connection. It's to swap ports used by the. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do some. A little bit more copy paste and stuff. Okay. So, I'm following off a guide on Discord, so I can't share it. But, okay, so the first thing you have to do is enable serial connection is to swap ports used by the GPIO and the internal Bluetooth chip. We need to add... Okay, so go there. So sudo nano config. Move the cursor to the very end and add overlay that. So add this. Okay. And Control X. Save. Yes. Enter. Okay. So that's done. Moving to another config file where part of the code must be deleted to disable serial console. Let's go to there. Look for the following string: console serial 01155. And delete that. Okay, Control X, save, yes, enter. Right, because that should be saved, right? Yep, okay. Okay, reboot the Pi. Reboot. Sudo reboot. Okay, so that's how you reboot a Pi. Yeah, so this is kind of like how 3DP Mamish brought it up. This is sort of how the if you connect a Raspberry Pi Zero to a Prusa, because they have a header on their 8-bit board still for connecting it. This is pretty much kind of how it functions. It's pretty much you're doing the same thing. Okay, so I still have some more. So again, this is all outside of the normal procedure, because you literally, I could have just taken a USB cable and connected the two and we would be done and all this would be skipped, but we're trying to do something a little bit different here. Okay, reboot the Pi, rebuild your Klipper, selecting use. So, let's see here. So I think I need to add serial restart method command, save. Firmware restart. Oh! Okay, so now we have heaters. They ain't reading anything, but we have heaters at least. Progress. There we go. Okay, so why aren't my heaters reading? Okay, let me restart because I'm still getting error. Why is it saying error? Printer is not ready. Klipper host hours connect. Please retry in a few moments. Okay, so right now it's not connected. Oh, okay, yeah, I lost connection there. Yeah, so it is still not talking. Let me check did I miss anything on the Discord? Rebuild your Klipper MCU firmware. Unselecting use USB for. Yep. So I did that. Settings. Klipper log. Let's see what the log says. I think I might have to. Yeah, something with the firmware. I bet. Okay. Let's see here. Starting Klipper. MCU dev TTY. Oh, okay. Starting Serial Connect. Timeout on Serial Connect. So yeah, so we're it's not talking. So all the way to the bottom. There's all the way to the bottom. I think I got to rebuild the make file. I think the make file is the issue. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the make file. Yeah, pretty sure it's a make file. So I'm going to unplug this and make another make file. Why did I turn that off when I could have just made the make file first? I don't know. Unplug that. No, wait, what am I doing? Yeah, I'm going to try go through the make file again. I think that's what the issue is. So let me go big full screen again. It's not a firmware issue, Fritz, or a config issue. It's the actual board isn't talking with the Raspberry Pi. So I don't think the pinout would impact it. So let's see here. Like right now, I know that the pins for the temperature sensors are correct. So I should be getting some sensors, or I should be getting a temperature readout, and I am not. So that means something is... I can worry about the motors moving in different directions after I get this actually talking. Klipper setup, because I can just copy and paste everything. Okay, so... There we go. It'd help if I copy the right command. Okay, so we're in the Klipper. Make menu config. The SKR will error out on the TMC UART pins being different on the SKR Mini E3 or 2.0, but that is different error. Yeah, because I'm looking here. I'm just going off of what Mr. Russian Cat Food, because he has the same setup I have pretty much. You have to check. Yeah, it should be UART 2. Okay, so enable the extra stuff. We got the right chip, right? We got the STM F103, which I believe we are correct. 103. Or is it 102? No, it's 3. Yeah, it's 3. Okay, clock reference. I don't think the clock reference matters. So we are using use USB instead of serial. Serial port. Is it UART 1 or 2? We tried 2, which is pins PA3 and PA2. So where's PA3 and 2? Are those the TX and the RX? PA0. See, motor UART is PC 11 and 10. So I think it's, or no, that's UART. That's TX1 and TX2. Yeah, it is UART2. So it is UART2. So we're good there. Bootloader offset. Do I need to play with the bootloader offset? 28 kilobit? Or is it 2 kilobit? I'll just select that. So we got UART. Yeah, so we got that. Bootloader should be 28. Okay, so maybe that's why. So 28. Clock reference. Baud. Should we 11,5200 instead of 25,000, 250,000? Should I drop the baud rate down? Would that make an impact? Yeah, 2,500 should be okay for Klipper, because that's standard. Specify a custom step pulse, and then the GPIO pin is the PA14. So I think we're okay there. So select, exit, make. Oh, make clean? Okay, I'll do that. And then I'm assuming that clears out any old make files. Isn't software fun, kids? Yeah, see, the thing is, Kayla, I can't drink on stream because of YouTube, so I gotta wait till after stream. I can't even play music on stream. I have to listen to it in my ears. Okay, so now I gotta undo all that by going make clean. Make clean. Make again. And now it froze. Oh, there we go. Yeah, see, okay, so one thing that this has over Duet, not online. Am I online? No, I got no power, you can't see. I don't know why it's still up. The printer's off. Oh, because the Raspberry Pi is on. Settings, interface, webcam. We have webcam support. Duet doesn't have webcam support. That's why this printer has a random Raspberry Pi sitting on top of it for a webcam. It used to have, that's what the Pi Zero used to be for. I literally had the Pi Zero sit up there for the past 2 years just so I had a webcam. So. Yeah, Duet, basically for Duet, from what I understand and from what I've seen, is you have to like bring in a webcam from something else. So you still need a separate thing to run the webcam. It can't run one natively. This runs one natively if you wanted to. Okay. That's a little loud. Yeah, MAINSAIL is still relatively new. You know, RepRap firmware has been around for years at this point. Okay, so now we got to pull out that Klipper file. So delete those so I don't get them mixed up. Delete that so I don't get mixed up. I mean, how do I get what? New session. Why aren't you connecting all of a sudden? Can you not have two things connected? What am I missing? I just can't spell raspberry. Klipper out. Klipper bin. Copy. Paste. Firmware.bin. In. We get some power for a second. Turn it off. That off. Plug that in. Okay, so now we should be good. Hopefully. Oh, you're staring at a boring Windows screen. 1 second. Well, okay, so technically Klipper is, well, here, Klipper is its own thing. Klipper is completely its own thing. MAINSAIL OS, while developed by a bunch of Voron guys, isn't directly Voron. It's still the Voron guys who made it, but it's not a Voron product, if you kind of get what I'm saying. It's printer... Oh, I got a fan spinning. Like, what the hell was that noise? Okay, that fan's a little tight. There we go. Dashboard? Ha ha! Honestly, for a second there, I thought I blew something up again. It wouldn't be the first time. So we got fan spin. Fan spin's good. Although, technically the fan shouldn't be on right now. Okay, so with Klipper, if it reads an error, the fan just goes on because it assumes bad. And as you can see here, we have unable to read TMC UART stepper X register, whatever the heck that is. So at this point is where I think we have to start playing around with pins, which is going to be boring as hell. So, error. There we go. Joy of Windows 10. So, step pin is... that would be 13, right? So 13 is step, okay. Direction pin is 12. Enable pin is 14. Oh, the UART pin. Okay, UART. So the UART pin is... yeah, the UART pins. So right now it's showing it was X, right? X is giving us the error. Go back to dashboard. Yeah, so stepper X. So right now it's showing UART pin is 15. So is it, do they use the same UART pin across the board? That's showing right now it's 10, 16, or 6, and 15. So what would be the UART pin for the motors? So same pin there. Oh, we got a pin post. Okay, so... okay, because of the multiple questions... oh, Kilobit made this. Okay, so because of the multiple questions about the SKR Mini E3 2.0, here's what we have to change with this board during the make menu. Start to PA14. Okay, so did that. Invert direction pins for steppered. Okay, so stepper X. Change direction pin to that. For Y, PB2 is now that. For Z, it is now that. And for extruder, it is now that. Update TMC control pins. Note that all steppers are on the same pin now, and we'll just have different UART addresses. Okay. Okay, so in stepper X, replace that with that. I can't show it because it's on Discord, and on Discord has all the stuff I can't share. So you can just see what I'm changing. That. Step reset. Update fan section in, what is it? Heater, fan, hot end fan change, PA8 to PA6. And it's okay, save. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, I think we're good. It seems to be okay. Now, do I hit the home button and just let it roll and see what happens? Or do I actually do like buzzer tests and go about this the long way? It's nice having a printer you can just kind of manhandle. Finger on the switch. Halfway there. So X home correctly, Y did not. So let me pull it up on Discord because I know it's pinned on Discord. Come on. Where is it? I know it's pinned. There we go. Open original. Voila. So in our case, our X home correctly, right? But X and Y. So our X was correct, but our Y went the wrong way. So shit. So that means I have to swap my motors. Motors are swapped. Swap XY connectors. There is no good configuration here, just inverting directions. Great. Great. AB swap. Okay. Kill power. Never unplug motors when you have power going to them. That is a bad thing. So luckily, shit. X, Y. So I gotta swap X and Y. If I can get in there. It's gonna be a pain. I got my shroud on. Although I will say I've accidentally done it on my Duet, and it didn't cause any issues. But don't do it. That was a straight up accident. I was impatient. It was like, come on. And I was like, oh wait, shit. Man, I hate JST connectors. Okay, so. So now B is A and A is B. Stuff the wires back in, make it look clean. Give it some power. No sparky spark. And now we wait for everything to reboot. Yeah, this image right here is super handy when you go to, because the thing is, when you get your motors, right? Like, depending on your motors, you might get ones with like detachable connectors. What I always recommend is just keep the order of the wires the same, right? So if, the default connector has blue, red, green, black in that order, just keep them in that order, because you can always invert them and swap them around in software or just by changing the plugs. But if you get the order of them screwed up, then you're going to be hunting down gremlins for a while. So never screw up the order of your motors. It doesn't matter what color they are. So what happens a lot is, the guy who wrote the config has his plugged in so that the black is first and the blue is last, whereas, you wired it up so that it's the other way around. As long as the order of the motors or the sequential order of them is the same, it doesn't matter. The motor will function. But you might be inverting pins and switching stuff around. So it's kind of a common issue that, you have to kind of invert some stuff. It happens. Okay, so we are connected. So we got our motors there. So home X. Y. There we go. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Now Z. So Z is going to be interesting because I'm going to have to kill power here again. And we're going to have to, with the Vzero, you want to manually set your Z, okay? Because you have to level your bed. And you have to level your bed ye oldie school way. So kill the power. I'm going to have to take out my earbuds because I need to be able to actually hear the click. So what you do is you just basically move your printer head to roughly about the middle, and you reach underneath, and you manually raise your bed until you hear the click. Okay, so once you get the click, then there's two things you got to do. Well, there's two ways of going about it, okay? So what you have to do is you can software adjust a little bit plus and minus for your Z, right? So you can kind of set a Z offset depending on the location of your bed. So right now, if you're manually moving up and you find your bed is smashing into your nozzle and you're nowhere near hitting the end stop, what you have to do at this point, let me get the plug out, is the little screw back here that's in your Z block. You're going to have to basically unscrew it so that it activates your Z end stop sooner, okay? If you find out when you're raising your bed, you're hitting your end stop and it's clicking and your nozzle is, 5 millimeters away from the bed, you're going to have to screw it down. So you're going to have to manually adjust it there. And then what I do is when I put the bed on, I put in the nuts so that I have, some play in both directions if I got to screw them down and raise them up. Put the nozzle in the middle of the bed, raise your bed up till you hear the click, and then adjust your bed level so that your nozzle is equal all the way around. Okay? So it's kind of hard to get on film, on camera, but I'm going to level my bed. So really, a piece of paper works. You don't really have to use a piece of paper. You can use really anything that's flat, because as long as it's consistent, you can adjust your squish just by changing your offset. Okay, so I have this handy dandy AirPod manual that just lost its back page. So I'll do the front first, I guess. Oh man, I got these little nuts on here. So if you can't turn them by hand because they're too tight or too loose, or you can't just tighten it, you pinch your bed together and then adjust them a little bit and then see how that affects it. But just be careful not to actually move your bed. And for those that don't know, when you level your bed, when you tell your printer to be at 0 for your Z level, it should be 0. It should just touch the bed. There shouldn't be an air gap. So if you are using a piece of paper or whatever, what you can do is you could set your offset for whatever the thickness of the paper is, because 0 should be 0. So when you print your first layer at 0.24 millimeters tall, or whatever your first layer height is, it should be 0.24 millimeters right off the bed. And that's what I see a lot of people have issues with their first layer, is they're leveling their bed, but they're assuming that 0 is with the piece of paper when you're not printing with that piece of paper there. So you really want to make sure 0 is 0. That is one of those things. So I'm going to drop this one and that one quite a bit. And correct, the hot nozzle. So what I do is, you can look, and as soon as I see the ever so slight air gap, that's good enough usually. And then once you go to print, print a cube, and then you can just live adjust, and then save it in firmware, whatever your offset actually is. But this is a really small bed, and there's only 3 points of adjustment. So really shouldn't be that complicated. Or, I mean, there should be a lot of forgiveness. It's a Mike 6 cast tooling plate that's 120 millimeters by 120 millimeters. So Man, I hate these knobs. Almost there. Yeah, this bed's so small. There's so much forgiveness in it. Like, I'm sure you could, you know, just eyeball it level, and you'd be honestly probably good for about 90% of the bed volume. I will say, though, these knobs that I used are really, they're low profile, and there's like nothing to bite onto. It's killing my fingers. There we go. Okay. And I think we're good. So, let me drop it. And then we'll see if we can do a whole home cycle here. Give it some juice, turn it on. Okay, let me catch up on chat here. My fingers are killing me. Correct. You can level cold. It's just your offset, for the most part, should be set hot. So what I do is you do a rough level on a small printer like this. You would do a rough level like I just did, and then print like a bunch of, you know, let it heat up 10 minutes, print a bunch of cubes, well, or first layer, just, you know, and then adjust whatever your Z offset is in your firmware, and then that will be good enough. Because with this, I left a switch on it, so I do have some play there. So let's see here. Let me take these off because I have no idea how loud this is. And do a home all. So it drops the bed. Homes X. Homes Y. Okay, that's off a bit. And then it comes up. Does it? And then moves to the beta. Okay, so we had a little bit of a clunk. Okay. So why do we have a clunk? So we went too far forward. Okay. So let's go into our config. Oh my God, being able to edit the config right in the printer is so nice. Okay, so first off, my step distance. I got 0.0025. The thing is, I have an oddball lead screw. So I'm actually running at like 400 steps per millimeter. No, wrong way. 1 divided by 400. So 0.0025. Oh, that is correct. Okay, so I got the correct steps for 8.8. So it should be okay there. Okay. Oh, and now for where is home position? There's safe. Homing speed, position max 120. So it should be 120 by 120 by 120. Max velocity 250, max accel. Homing override, okay. Oh. Ooh, just froze up there. Yeah, I think my Y end stop's triggering too far forward because it's basically going to max Y and it's thunking right there at the end. So let me just do this the easy way. Dashboard. On my Y. Okay, so, oh yeah, that's hitting way far forward. So let's see. So if I go, so there's 100. So there's 110, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so I got 2 extra millimeters. So I got to bend this back. Oh, that's gonna be fun. Just a bit. So if I can get something in here. Okay, let me try that again. Yep, that might be the other option. I want to see if I can fix it hardware-wise, and then if not, I'll just adjust it so that it's triggering at the position. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 1 millimeter. Okay, settings. Let me just make sure I can get oh wait, wrong way. Okay, so X is good. We're good on the X. Just barely. It's literally like just touching those. Okay, so settings, printer config. So Y, so end stop position is 119, right? Oh. So let me see. Silly Llama, yes, there is really not a lot. Depending on how you built it, you might luck out and have like an extra 1 to 2 millimeters. But in reality, when we say it's 120 by 120 by 120, it's 120 by 120 by 120. There's really not a lot extra. Oh, we have some visitors from beyond the Great Firewall. Welcome. Okay, so end stop position would be 119, right? So end stop position would be that. And then travel would be that. Yeah. Pretty sure that's right, right? Dashboard. Console. There, settings. Restart. Okay. Take off my earplug so I can hear it home again. It's the one downside with noise canceling. Okay, so home X. Home Y. Okay, we're good. Z homes, and then moves to the middle. Okay, so we're good there. Okay. We have temperature. So what I do for temperature, so we have the firmware is installed. Okay, it's configured. We're getting temperature. So what I'm going to do now is just make sure that I know my fans are good, because when it aired out, the hot end fan went nuts. So you want to make sure it's your hot end fan that goes nuts when Klipper airs out. Because otherwise it's your part fan, so your fans are backwards. So you can just swap them you can either unplug them and swap them, or you can just change the pin assignment. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is just make sure that we're getting heat. So I'm just going to tell my bed to heat up to 30 degrees. Okay. And I want to see it activate. So the temperature is going up. Now, I'm not going to do a PID tune right now, or actually I will go through PID tune. That's why I'm only going to 30. Because when you do a PID tune for your heaters, you want to do it from whatever your ambient temperature normally is. Okay, so we got 30, and it's kind of stabilizing there. Okay, so 0. Turn off. Okay. And now we got our hot end, so get that going. And there we go. So our, yeah, I'll do the tool fan next. So there we go. So that'll probably shoot over because nothing's PID tuned at these low levels. There we go. Okay. So we are good there. Now, do I have a way of turning the part fan on in here? Tool fan, there we go. Okay, tool fan. Okay, so we don't have tool fan going. So what I'm thinking there is, oh, I know. Okay. Settings. Configuration. No, shoot, I lost it. SKR Mini E3 V2.0 pinout. I think I have it set for the part fan to be on the bed thermistor or the bed MOSFET instead of the second fan. Let's see here. Okay, so right now, okay, so my heater fan is PA6. Okay, so I need fan 7 is for my regular fan. So that would be PA7. Because on the SKR Mini E3 V2, the advantage for that is you have 2 CNC fans. So because I'm using the PDET here to control my SSR, because I'm not using a mains bed, the bed MOSFET here, this big chunky boy, big chungus MOSFET right here, is free. So I could use this for a third CNC fan. I could use this for another, I could put a little itty bitty chamber heater in here. I could put another, if I wasn't running a powered bed, I could run another hot end with the thermistor going to the other thermistor hookup, because you only have 2 thermistor hookups. So long story short, if you are running both fans off of the fan headers, that's something else you gotta check out. So save. Okay, restart. So let's see here, dashboard, tool fan. Why am I getting no part fan? Can you search? Oop, wrong one. Oh, I gotta restart to pick up pin change. Okay. Control F. UART. Yep, you can control F. So it's, you know, it's... Okay, so firmware restart. Or reboot. Do a full reboot. So this is actually good that we got it firmware-wise all set up, so that next week's stream I can do all about your first print and how to like make sure everything's printing good. This guy's already serialed, so I don't need to do another serial video on it. So you don't get another serial video when you rebuild your printer. Otherwise, this guy would have like 5 serials because it's been every different version of a Voron so far. Well, V2. Okay, let's see here. Cannot update MCU as shutdown firmware restart. Okay, let me just do the long way. The only downside, I think I have my Z rails just up a little too high. So the carriage does come out a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be a big issue. Why am I getting an error? Cannot update MCU. Firmware restart. Nope. There we go. Tegley, $10. Good job. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Okay, so we're still not getting part fan. Why aren't we getting part fan? Settings, config, printer config. Let's see here. Yeah, PA7 and PA6. Am I missing? Kickstart time 1.0. Off below 0.13. Cycle time. Okay, let's try this. Yeah, I'll check the wiring. Restart. Wiring should be fine though. Oh, would it be PC? Oh, PC. That's why. I have it. Good catch there, Kilobit. Good catch. So that one's PC. And then that one's PA though. They're both PC. Did I have that PC before? And did I just change it to PA for no dumb reason? Let me start. Okay, there we go. So now we got part fan, which both are running. I got air. And we are good. I can turn that off. There we go. Okay. So, yeah, it's funny on all my Vorons, especially the ones with afterburners. The part cooling fan is the loudest part on the printer because they're all running TMCs, right? Oh yeah, hot fan. E-stop. Oh, that fan rattles. So the part fan is literally some random cheap fan that I had because I thought I had a proper 24 volt fan and I did not. So the hot end fan is literally some random like cheap 24 volt that I think came with like a TL E3D V6 clone. But good enough. Okay. So kill that. And I guess the last thing we'll do is the PID tune. Because whenever you build a new printer, you should make sure your end stops work. You should make sure your fans function. You should make sure all directions are correct. You should make sure you don't have over travel. Your E-steps are correct, which the easiest way to make sure your E-stops are correct is to tell it to go to your XYZ max and make sure it doesn't crash. That's good enough to get you a rough close enough. Hey, it's you know, when I tell it to move 100 millimeters, it's not moving 200 millimeters. It's not moving 50 millimeters. Okay. And then before you print anything, PID tune. And then also before you print anything, make sure your extruder E-steps are correct. Okay. Now for, let me pull up here. For PID tune on Klipper, it's relatively simple. Let me pull up the guide on how to do it. Oop. I don't know where it's at. There used to be a guide. There you go. Yeah, so Klipper docs, config checks. So this is just, you know, stuff you should verify. But PID. So basically, you know, and I think for bed, it's just bed. So I don't have the webcam hooked up yet. Here's your console. So if you want to send G-code to the printer, you just go to the console and PID calibrate heater. This guy will probably mostly be printing PLA. I don't think I'll use this as much of an ABS printer simply for the fact I got a fully enclosed V2 and a partially enclosed V2. So this guy probably will just be a standard PLA printer or spare parts if I bag it. So I'll do a PID tune for about 210 for the heater. And for what your heaters are called, because you got to do one for your bed and you got to do one for the heater. It's the bed is heater_bed, as you can see, and the other one's extruder, I believe. Yeah, so heater. Yeah, I think it's extruder and heater bed are the two you need to do. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong there. Yeah, so heater. So we'll do that. And as you can see, it's set it for 210. The part fan kicked on, which it should once the... And that's another reason. And this is why I don't like the fact that so many board makers only include one CNC fan. Being able to control your part fan, your hot end fan, is pretty much like it should be a standard, okay? Simply for the fact, yeah, there is noise. You know, all my printers, you know, they run in the basement. I don't care about noise, all right? I buy cheap fans because I don't care about noise. However, it's also life. If your printer, you know, this guy's on all the time. Most of my printers are on all the time and idle. If I had a fan running all the time, it's gonna kill the fan. You know, fans have a finite lifespan. They only run for so long, and then the bearings crap out. And you don't want a fan dying mid-print, obviously. So being able to tune your fans to turn off when the printer is not, you know, when the hot end's not hot, you shouldn't be running your hot end fan. If your part fan is pretty much required to be controlled though. So on most controller boards, the bigger ones like the SKRs, yeah, you do have two hot end hookups. You do have two heater hookups. And you can basically use one of those for your second CNC fan, but it's nice to actually have two dedicated headers. Oh, I have plastic in there. I was wondering why I'm smelling popcorn. And also, when you are heating a fan up or a printer up for the first time, do a sniff test. You know, smelling burning PLA is one thing. Smelling burning plastic, no, it's PLA. It's not ABS. Or actually, no. No, it is PLA. Because this hot end, the Dragon, was in my switch wire when I was doing dual extrusion tests. So, hey, look. It prints. PLA is for dumb little trinkets. Stuff like this is fine for PLA, you know. If you want to print, you know, random stuff that just kind of sits on your desk, or bigger things that sit on your desk, PLA is fine. And you can get some really good colors. So I'm not against PLA. It's just the kind of stuff I normally print, I don't need PLA. But like something like this, you know, this is PLA. This was printed on my V1.5 over 2 years ago. Okay. So PLA, you know, has its use, but you don't need PLA. This guy's broken because don't let a 2-year-old near a Dragon. But this Alduin model, with all the spikes and all the overhangs, is ABS. So you can do good stuff with ABS. You can also get its 3-foot wingspan completely snapped off because a 2-year-old got his hands on it. So it literally comes down to use the plastic for whatever the use is. So it's PID tuning. You'll see it go up and down. Now this is another reason why I recommend the V2 board. The V1.2 has issues with the thermistor. Let me see if I can find it. Yep, so on the SKR Mini E3 V1.2, which this guy actually used to have a V1.2 board. I have a V2.0 because Banggood of all people decided to sponsor, well, not sponsor, but they donated something to my channel, which I got to pick, and I got to pick the V2.0 board because I wasn't going to do anything with a really crappy extruder. So they did donate me the board. So I do have that as an upgrade. But if you had the V1.2, you get this issue where your thermistor readings are kind of like this. So you set it for, this was during a PID tune, I believe. But you set it for a solid temperature, and it jumps all over the place. Because the problem is, it has to do with the way the circuit is, and I can't remember, one of our guys figured this out, the fix for it. Where is it? But it's basically the way the circuit is generated, like it's made. Bragg Show pointed it out. You have to short a component to fix it. But basically, with Marlin, it pulls the temperature and averages it out, so you don't see the issue really. However, with Clipper goes, give me temperature now, damn it. And it goes, here's the temperature. And then Clipper goes, cool, give it to me right now, too. And it goes, and if there's variance, Clipper displays that variance. So they fixed that issue with the V2.0 board. Now, some V1.2 boards weren't as bad, but it was literally like a silicone lottery type thing. Yeah, so if you're running Marlin, you don't really see that issue because Marlin kind of hides the issue because it kind of averages it out on the way it displays the temperature, whereas Clipper is literally, give it to me now, damn it. So, okay, so we're done. There we go, PID parameters, and you just go copy, save, config, and you put that in there, and you go boom, and save config, and then it reboots. Okay, Clipper ready, and then you can, for those that don't know, if you want to re-input a command, okay, click on send code, and then you can just push up arrows, and it'll pull up, last command. So if you're constantly running the same command over and over again, you don't have to type it in. So we've done the hot end, heater, bed. We're not going to shoot for 210 Celsius, but we're going to shoot for 60. So now we're going to PID tune our bed. And also, whenever you're PID tuning, always be at your printer, okay? My Vorons are super reliable. I will start a print on this guy without even looking. I will literally hit print and go to work before the nozzle's even close to temperature, okay? But I will still stand next to it when I PID tune it because if something fails, that is probably going to be the one you'll see the quickest, okay? And you really want to be there if you have a runaway heater, especially on a new build. So, can you create custom buttons? I'm not 100% sure. I know you can have macros. I don't know how to get at the macros. Raymond might be able to help me with that if he's still around. But I know you can have a macro folder for commands. And I also believe like the it's in the interface. Interface, yeah. So I haven't gone through all this. Yeah, so you have macros right there for load filament, print start, webcam, console. Oh, I'm going to put console on the dashboard. Printer name, Vzero. Oh, okay, so if you want to change the name up there, it's V0.003. There we go. And now I have a console there. Oh, sweet, so it displays the console. Okay, that makes sense. Can I enter? Okay, so you can't enter anything there, but it displays it. Okay, I don't want to see that then. Okay, but where are the macros at? Oh, there it is, right there. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm talking. There's your macros. So your macros are right there. So you have unload, print start, print end, load filament, interface. You have your options there. Load filament, print end, print start, unload filament. There's a file, I think, that you can add more macros to. It's in your config, I think. In your config. Settings, machine, config. Yeah, so right here. So see, so if you were to make a G-code macro, so if I made a G-code macro, let's see here, copy G-code macro, and I wanted to call it center. Okay. Okay, so I gotta do G code, that, and then I want to do a move. So G1, X, 60, Y, 60, Z, 60, and we'll do Z, 10, F, 3600. So that should move me to pretty much the center. Right? Yeah. Save. Okay. I gotta wait for this PID tune to finish first. Because I probably gotta do a firmware restart for it to pull it. And then also in your settings for machine, you can adjust your speed. So your limits, your acceleration, deceleration, square corner velocity. I guess you can press the sync button on the right bottom to load the current end stop. Okay, let me wait for this PID tune to finish. Oh, it did finish. Okay. So save that. Okay, so now we have PID tunes for our hot end. We have PID tune for our bed. All we would really need to do, I'm not going to do it now because we're coming up on our end time, but we are technically ready to print. We just need to confirm our E steps for the extruder. So. Okay. So I did restart, but it didn't pull the new, that centered macro. Let me try if I reboot. What if I reboot? I know you could do it in software, but I just like flipping the button. Oh yeah, refresh. That's one thing I'm not super, that's the one peeve I have so far is certain things you actually have to hit refresh instead of it auto updating, like those errors I was having earlier, whereas like I fixed the error, but it's still displaying that error because I have to hit refresh. So some sort of internal refresh for certain text boxes or status windows would be nice. But other than that, just a clean interface. It boots relatively quick. Like I will say, like, you know, running straight up Marlin directly on the board, you are going to have the quickest boot up times, okay? But my printers are usually on all the time anyway, so I don't care about boot up time that much. And really, unless one, oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, so I refreshed it. Center, so let me home all. There you go. So if you want to add a custom command to the front page here, you would go into your settings, your config, printer config. There we go. And basically just G-code underscore macros, call it whatever you want, put your G-code for whatever the macro does, save it, refresh, reload, and boom, it shows up on your dashboard. So, and then, you know, so let's see. So right now we're currently at Z20. That looks about right. So let's go down 45. That's the one thing I didn't check was my Z. So my Z is actually off, it looks like. Yeah, so I'm thinking my Z is actually half. Yeah, I know I had half of whatever. So right now it is saying... why? Okay. So right now it is saying that I am at 120 millimeters of Z, when in reality, I am at 60. So my Z steps are half what they should be. So settings, printer config. Yeah, so 0.0025. Yes, I'm doing a calculator for basic math. 0.0025 divided by 2. There we go. .00125. Save. Restart. I knew my, because I have a weird oddball size lead screw, and I remember it being 400 steps, but it must have been 800 steps per millimeter, because it's like a 4-pitch 2-start or some weird oddball. This MAINSAIL will be faster on a Pi. So here's the thing: it will be a faster boot up time, but once you're actually into this screen here, it's like instantaneous. Now the advantage to it, for those that, you know, let's see, right now, if that's offline, let me turn online. Is it plugged in? No, it's not plugged in. Okay. So I'm turning switch wire on right now, so I want to show you the comparison. Okay. So, one second here. What I'm going to do is, did I save that? Yeah, I saved that. Turn that off. Okay. Turn that off. I'm going to turn switch wire on. It has a Pi 3B plus in it. And I'm going to turn this guy on at close to the same time. And we're going to see how quickly they load up. Okay? Because I got switch wires there. And that is Vzero. Okay? So, on, switch wire, Vzero. Octoprint is starting. Connecting. So you gotta remember, it's still a Pi Zero booting Raspbian, right? Oop. Okay, so the Vzero is up and loaded already. Don't wait, reload now. Come on. Come on, Octoprint. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This one is running a 3B, not a 3B plus. But they're both on Wi-Fi. Wow, I really hate Octoprint. This guy's getting KLIPPER real soon, or getting MAINSAIL real soon. Okay, while we're doing that, let me rehome this guy. There we go. Okay. Oh, okay. Now we got to reload the UI. Okay. Oh, now we got updates. Okay, mark red. Mark red. I still don't see any temperatures. This guy's up and loaded and homed. Maybe if I reboot it again. Oh, there we go. There we go. Ignore. There we go. Now it's loaded. So another thing is the way it renders the web page, okay? So there, both are closed, okay? Watch this. So I'm loading up Microsoft Edge, okay? The reason I'm loading up Microsoft Edge is because I don't use Microsoft Edge. So there is nothing for this, okay? There's no cookies, there's no cache, as far as I know. Don't quote me, I don't know computers. But this is basically like brand new, so nothing to give it a head start, okay? Here's MAINSAIL. Ready? Enter. It might not work because I connected it through thing. Come on. There we go. Okay. Connected. There we go. Okay. And that was with no cache. Okay. I don't know why I closed that. I'm going to need it in a minute. And now on Chrome, where it has a cache, boom, it's loaded back up. Okay. Now, let's do the same thing with octoprint. Now, these are both up and running right now, right? So I don't need to wait for it to boot. This is just how quick it is to get into, you know, oh shit, I need to upload a file quickly to my printer, otherwise I'm going to get fired. Okay? Paste. Go. Oh, I gotta log in. Shoot. Okay, so ignore the login. Connecting to the UI. Okay. That was actually one of the quicker ones. Normally it takes a little bit longer than that. And then same thing here. Gotta wait for the UI to load. So it is a little bit quicker in that regard. Come on, come on. Okay, now it's... I don't know. I find this a lot cleaner too. So there we go. So we're all home, so... Let me make sure I got proper Z now. Okay, so we are at 95. (15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20). Good. Actually, while it's all the way down there, a little bit of grease. And again, this is a Pi Zero. Yeah, so octoprint is kind of, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against octoprint, but someone like me who literally just uses their printers for printing, I have no plugins. Like I never used plugins. The only ones I ever used was the like the KLIPPER plugin essentially for octoprint, and like some of the other random ones that are just kind of small quality of life, like not actual all the PTFE grease. But yeah, I've never been like, so even if you have to use bare octoprint with how heavy it is. Now, I know there is some people looking into getting some of the add-ons to work with KLIPPER or with MAINSAIL. There we go. But at this time, there are no. The only one we have is the webcam. Oh yeah, there's a print visualizer. So let me pull this up. So we're going to add a printer, non-network printer, custom. Oh, look at this, Voron. You know, it only has the V2. It's missing, 3 of the Vorons. V2 custom, sure, whatever. Yeah, so it does have a bed visualizer. So let me just pull this up here. 120, 120. Oh my God, Kira's. Oh yeah, I have the crappy computer again. There we go. Okay. So let's load something to print. Hey, it's that Voron cube. Look how big the Voron cube looks, by the way, when you only have 120 millimeters to work with. So we're going to slice this cube at completely default settings for, I don't even know what temperature. Whatever, it doesn't matter, we're not printing it. Cube. Okay. So G-code files, upload. I think it's in downloads. Cube. So how does the bed visualizer work? Oh, you have to start the print. Oh, from Kira. Okay, so if you, I think it's from Prusa Slicer. If you generate some G code from Prusa Slicer, you can display like a little picture in the in MAINSAIL OS. So okay. So anyways, I think that's where we're going to call it for tonight. We've got the firmware installed. That actually did go smoother than I thought it would. I was expecting to be here till like 1 a.m. Halfway through a bottle of vodka, trying to figure out why this isn't working. But it's working. So we're good there. So yeah, I don't have much to clean up, but it's 11:07 now. I'll leave the floor open for like 10 minutes if anyone has any questions, and then we'll wrap it up and call it a night. I use an Android tablet for all my Vorons. Yeah, you can get to MAINSAIL OS with a tablet if you wanted to. Now, if you were using some sort of octoprint-centric interface, though, I don't believe that works. That wouldn't work. You would have to use the main. You would have to use this interface, which. Let me. Ooh, my battery's dead. Adapter to charge my phone. I don't think I do. Yep, my phone is dead. Do I have a USB? I might have a USB-C. Let me see if I have a USB-C. So I want to pull this up on my phone to show you what it looks like on a phone. But my phone is dead now. I'm pretty sure you can use this on a phone, though. No, I didn't mute, yeah. I actually have a mic. So my phone isn't the mic, don't worry. Okay, is that off? Okay, turn that off. Don't need that anymore. Notification. So basically any current add-on that works with Octoprint does not work with MAINSAIL. Literally, this is what you got at this time. Now, there is the Moonraker API, which allows stuff to communicate. So there might be in the future some sort of ecosystem with add-ons. But at this time, it's it's fresh, it's new. This is alpha. You can install this right now. If you install it using a handy dandy USB cable like we recommend, you don't have to go through all the trouble I did today with like uart and all that stuff. You would literally do the make file. So you would follow these steps right here. So what you would do, dang it, I lost it. I linked it earlier up. Let me pull it up. I know I have it on Discord. Yeah. So what you do, so this is for your average install. Your normal install that doesn't go through all the hoops that I did today. Okay, you would download the latest image from here, and I'll link these again for those that missed it at the beginning. Okay. So what you do is you download the latest image. Okay. You flash that to an SD card. You go into that SD card afterwards and configure your WA supplicant. So this is for your Wi-Fi connection. The same thing you would do with an Octopi or with Octoprint. You would boot your Raspberry Pi. You would connect your MCU to the board. Now, if you have to go through the standard KLIPPER install, you would have to do the make file for an SKR. So do the make file, make that, pull that out, rename it to firmware, put it on your board, flash it, plug it back in, connect, and then go back here, SSH. So flash your boards, create your printer config, like it says right there, like we did, and then edit your config, which you can do inside here. You just go boom, config, edit away, add this stuff to the end, and boom, you're printing. So if you're copy and pasting from an existing printer that already has Octoprint, before you do that, save your config file. So literally, your printer will function exactly the same. You just have a new interface to work with. So over the next little while, I probably will be upgrading Tallboy and Switchwire to, well, I will be upgrading Tallboy and Switchwire to MAINSAIL, because right now they're both on Octoprint. So there we go. So before I head off, open floor if anyone has any questions about anything. If not, I'll be calling it a night soon. And at some point, I got to do a rebuild on that guy, because it's got V2.2 Z motors that are quite old, and I've got the stuff to upgrade to 2.4, but how am I anchoring the cable chain at the bottom? So when you're putting it together, let's see if we can get in there. What you do, there's a bed in the way. Before you put this guy in, okay, you cut a little notch in it and you slide an M3 nut into here, and then you screw the bottom part of the cable chain, the drag chain, to the extrusion, okay? And you do that, you just need to just break off the end part, and then you connect all this later, okay? So that's how you connect it. It's just screwed to the frame. Will I make a video about slicer configurations, KISS slicer, super slicer? I mostly use Cura. I've only started using Prusa slicer because it's better for dual extrusion with switch wire back here. And unfortunately, I've been kind of busy with work and whatnot, so I haven't had as much time to play with all these as I would like to. But I personally am a fan of Cura. I've been running it for the past like 2.5 years. I haven't had any issues with it. It just, because of the way Cura is, you have to know that you can turn on a lot of settings that are hitting by default, but it does give you a lot of power if you know what you're tweaking. Prusa Slicer and Super Slicer. I haven't used Super Slicer yet, but Prusa Slicer is very good out of the box, especially with one of the default like Voron slice profiles. What do you think of nylon versus ABS PETG? PETG belongs in water bottles because that's all it's really good for, and people only use it for 3D printing because they can't figure out how to print ABS yet. And once you know how to print ABS, PETG is pretty much useless except for face mode prints. Nylon is really, pure nylon isn't the greatest. You really want to blend it with something, and a PC or an ABS nylon would probably be a go-to. The problem is the advantages you're going to get in most applications, you're not going to see that big of a gain. It really depends on the application. It's a really per application use. For the vast majority of like printer parts, for example, in a 3D printer, ABS, a good ABS, will suit you 100% just fine. But yeah, PETG, I'm not a fan of it. Think about it. Outside of 3D printing, other than water bottles, what is PET used for? Because PETG is only used in 3D printing because it's PET with glycol, which allows PET to be printed. PC or ABS? PC ABS. PC by itself, I find, is way too brittle. If you have a nozzle crash and your XY joints are pure PC and you're going to crack them, you do actually want a little bit of give, okay? You don't want your printer to be like extremely rigid. Like, think about it. When you're building, your car isn't built out of hardened tool steel. It's built out of steels and aluminum, stuff that does have give to it. You want something to be able to flex a little bit if needed and spring back to its default position. Because remember, a 3D printer, there is no force on the tool head. So the only forces you have to deal with is the tool head moving around, which honestly doesn't weigh that much. So having a little bit of give if you crash your nozzle is a little bit better than having to rebuild your whole gantry. How to work the Z-seam and Cura. For Cura, I always put it to the back, and then I orientate my prints to the part that it has a seam towards the back. That's what I do. Yeah, also PC ABS can be expensive. I like ABS because you can get it cheap, and price per what you get is probably the best out of all the plastics for printing. But yeah. Also PETG, its heat resistance is kind of a misnomer. Yes, it has a higher glass transition temperature than PLA, but where PLA kind of just goes up, and then once it hits about 50 degrees it fails, and 60 it goes. PETG, I think it's like 70 or 80 it starts to go, but the thing is, it's gradual. Okay, it's not like you're fine, you're bad. It's you're fine, you're kind of fine, you're okay-ish fine, you're not really fine. It's more of a curve. So I'd rather have my parts function up till fail instead of just gradually weak, and then eventually fail. I've seen PETG also cracks quite a bit. So I've seen a lot of old, like back in the V1 days, a lot of people did Vorons and PET because there wasn't the whole community saying do ABS at the time. But yeah, also ASA is pretty much just ABS that's formulated a little bit different. It's like 95% the same. It's just UV resistance. So I know a lot of people say ASA is the ABS killer. They're pretty much the same for the most part. They don't smell as bad, and they're a little less warp happy. Now, also, it's part of my tinfoil hat thing that the reason you don't see as much smelly and bad ASA is because ASA isn't used as much in industry, so you don't have as much cheap producers of ASA. So the ASA that's out there, because there isn't as much as it isn't used as much as ABS, you're seeing higher quality ASA out there instead of the cheap China ABS that's everywhere because everything's made of ABS. So there's more of a pool of crappy ABS to draw from to make crappy ABS filament that stinks and warps versus ASA. So you're more likely to find good ASA filament, well, the material, the resin, than ABS. Because remember, the vast majority of companies that make filament do not make their plastic. They buy plastic by the Gaylord, like even Prusa. Prusament is not made by Prusa. Somebody else makes the plastic. They just extrude it into filament. Let me see here. Like this right here is called a Gaylord, okay? This is what plastic comes in, okay? It's a 1,500 pound box of plastic, okay? And we call it resin in the trade, but like, and it comes out these, and then it goes into a giant extruder, and it extrudes it out into filament, okay? So Prusament, the fancy Prusa brand, it's not Prusament. It's whatever plastic from, I'm assuming they have a good provider because it is good filament. But all they're doing is taking a product and turning it into a filament. So. But yeah, that's my little ASA, ABS, PTG rant. Personally, I have ASA, but I use it for some stuff. I just find ABS Plus, eSun ABS Plus, yes, it's a little bit weaker than normal ABS, but it just prints so reliably and I never have to worry about it. I just use that as my go-to for pretty much everything. So, is Afterburner already available in dual version? Looks interesting. I don't think it's been pushed to the GitHub. It's still kind of experimental-ish. But all it essentially is the Bowden Afterburner with a Y splitter. These are some of the prototypes. So yeah. So I think I'll call it there. It's like 11:20 at night. Yeah, I can't handle it. I work in tool and die. I work in a tool shop that has a 3,000 pound injection mold press that'll crank out a 15 pound front fascia of a vehicle every 90 seconds. So I don't even smell ABS anymore. And anytime somebody says having one printer and printing a Benchy at ABS will kill them, I just have a hearty chuckle. But anyways, with that, I will end it for the night. Thank you for joining me tonight. Hope we have learned something. I know I did, because this was actually all new to me. Make sure you guys, give credit to all the MAINSAIL guys. Kevin with Clipper, he has a Patreon. Raymond, thank you, man. Tons of help tonight. And thank you for MAINSAIL OS. Meet you, I can never pronounce it right, for actually coming up with MAINSAIL and the other crew. And I'm sure I'm forgetting people as well. For the rest of you guys, for those that donated, thank you very much. As always, anyone who donates to the stream goes to equipment for the stream or stuff for printers. Pretty much nothing goes to me directly. This is a hobby. I do this because I want to help people. I have a job. That's where I make my money. Some of it. So I want you all to have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Wash your hands. And be safe out there. Peace.